Before starting with the video, I just wanted to let you know that there are timestamps and I made this time list, so feel free to skip wherever you want. Now I'm going to make a quick introduction about the opening, explain why I choose it and what are the moves that bring us to it. Also, I decided to divide the video into parts. So in this first part, I'm going to show you all the line with rook on f8, and in the second part, I'm going to show you all the line with queen on e8. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, don't worry, because I'm going to show you right now. Video like this take me a lot of time and energy, so please consider subscribing. Enjoy! If you are a new-foot player, you probably are aggressive, you love tactics and open position, and maybe you are as mad as me. So when you play a4, they play e5, you play knight f3, they play knight c6, and you play bishop c4, the Italian game. When they play knight on f6, you always try to play knight on g5, the knight attack. Now, you probably know that if they play d5, you can take the pawn, and if they take with the knight, we are in the fried liver attack with knight takes on f7. So that's why people play knight on a5 in this position, and then you give this check, you know, you follow theory, and maybe you had a position like this. And maybe at the beginning you had problem playing like this, but after some times you get comfortable with this position and you start winning a lot of games with white because you had up a pawn, despite the fact that black has more activity. Now, it's also true, though, that black decided that this position wasn't so good for him and decided to try something else. For this reason, in this position, in order to try to win more games, black play knight c5. So we are in the Traxler Counterattack. But the reality is that after you take the pawn on f7, they take this, and if you take the pawn, they take with check and you are completely lost. But if you, for example, go on f1, there is queen on e7, knight takes on h8, d4, etc, etc. And as you can see on the Lichess database, black obviously wins most of the times. And why? Because this is a really tricky position, and it could be that white is slightly better, but honestly, the computer doesn't understand the strength of this attack, and you need to be a defensive god in order to survive the position with white. For this reason, white, in order not to lose in this position, found another move, decided to play bishop takes on f7 with check, the key moves, and probably bishop on b2. But after that, black is still winning most of the games. Why? Because despite the fact that black lost the pawn, black has quite a lot of activity. Black lost the pawn and has the king there's the king in the center, but is going to destroy you. Now you play something like d3, they play d6, for example, just following a game, short castle, h6, you have to go back, and g4. And despite that white is better, and I mean, I'm not following the best move, but you see that white is losing most of the times because this is a really tricky position, all black pieces are coming to you, and you are probably going to mess up and lose this position. And that's why I made this video. I made this video because I wanted to let you know that you can still play knight g5, because probably after this you decided to stop playing it and play something like the gioco piano and maybe the gioco pianissimo. Are you kidding me? Really? No. We are e4 player, we don't want this. We don't want solid games, we want to win tactical games. So we can still play knight on g5. After this move, you can still play this pawn, you can still take this pawn, is the way to win. But now you can play 3 moves. Bishop on d5, bishop on c4, and bishop on b3. The move I'm going to suggest you, this broken line, is with bishop on c4. And why? is bishop on c4 that's strong? Well, bishop on c4 is better than bishop on b3 and bishop on d5 for two reasons. First of all, the bishop on b5 just blocks the square for the other pieces because there is a bishop, so you can play knight c3 and knight c5, which is a strong move. And the difference with bishop on d3 is that in a lot of position, the light square bishop of black is going to pin your knight on g4 and you have a knight on f3. But with bishop on c4, you can actually play bishop on e2. So I'm pinning your knight, and this move is a savior move, is a really good move, is a solid move, and it will allow you to be up a pawn in every single line and be also solid. So what can black play now in this position? Well, as you can see, we are threatening a fork, so he kinda has two moves, rook on f8 or queen on e8. There is another move that I'm going to show you really quickly. There is d5. d5 is wrong, and as you can see, the bar is going up, is +3. Why? Because we can take this pawn. Now the most played move is knight takes pawn. The best move, according to the computer, is playing b5. If they play b5, you take the pawn, knight attack the bishop, you defend the bishop with the knight. I'm just going to let you see this. We are just going to see this really quickly because no one is going to play this, but you never know. So knight on c3 defending the bishop. We are still up 2 pawns. Knight take back. Queen takes our pawn and we castle because the queen is threatening the g2 pawn. This is not a good tactic now, because if they take, we take back. They take our knight, and after that b3, and as you can see there is a lot of pressure on the king and we are going to win really fast. It's +6. So you can't play that. The best move is try to mate us with bishop on b7, queen on f3, and trade everything. They trade everything, and as you can see we reach this position, is still +3. Yeah, our strategy is ruined, but we are up 2 pawns. So I think we can stop there, and obviously in every variation I'm not going to let you see a 25 move line. I just want to let you see an opening line in which you are going to be better in the middle game, and I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to show you the middle game ideas or whatsoever, but I'm just going to show you that you can be much better and you can have a solid position being up a pawn. This time you're going to be up 2 pawns though. So b5 is not such a good line, but the most played move, which is not the best, is knight take on d5, and now is +5. It's +5, but it's not easy to understand why. Now we castle. It's +5 because the king is on the center and we are going to have a lot of activity. Now I'm going to play the best moves. h6 and d4. You can't really take with the pawn because otherwise, as you can see, it's +10. You are opening every piece I have and you're going to lose really fast. Also, remember that you can't take this knight because after I take with the bishop, you're going to lose the queen. You can block with the knight, but you're going to lose the knight. In that case, you're going to get destroyed. You can't really take this knight. If you take with the knight, still rook on e1 is really strong because now this pawn is undefended. It was defended by the knight on c6. The best move is to take with the bishop. They take with the bishop and we play queen on f3. Queen on f3 is really strong move because we are threatening to get on f7, and if the knight moves, we are threatening to get on f7 with the knight. So for example, if he plays a move like this, because also remember that we are threatening to take the knight, we have the fork. So what he should play is rook on f8. Oh, sorry. Is rook on f8. We take the knight. Queen takes back. We take the queen. They take our piece. The bishop goes somewhere else. We are gaining space. And now we can take this pawn. They attack us. But after bishop on f3, you see that first of all we are up a pawn. Second is +5. Why? Because the king is on the middle. our position is rock solid, we have the couple of bishop and our pieces are ready to destroy his king, as you can see. So d5 is quite a bad move. So going back, they can play rook on f8 or queen on e8. Now I'm going to show you all the lines with rook on f8, and with all the lines I mean all the lines after knight c3. You could castle now, but be careful. In this position, always play knight c3. Don't play castle now, because if you play castle, you're going to get sometimes in really tricky position in which you are going to give back the pawn to have more activity, but the position is going to get really messy and you're probably going to mess up. Also remember that the knight on c3 defends this pawn, so after h6, if we castle now, you can lose this pawn. So it's better to play knight c3 in order to have more solid position and to always be up a pawn and be better. So we play knight c3. Now, what can our opponent play? Obviously, he can play the moves h6, d6, or queen on e8. The most logical one is d6, but d6 is actually a mistake. If they play d6, we just have castle is plus 2.3. But why? Well, after this move, they can try bishop on g4, h6, or queen on e8. The same stuff is always the same stuff. They really don't have anything else to play. If they play g4 now, thinking that we can't play f6, yeah, it's true, we can't play f6, but there is a problem, it's completely lost. This is a blunder because we have knight d5 check. Now, if the king moves somewhere, let's say on e8, and it's the same thing if it goes on e7, we take the knight, we check, the captured back, and we take the bishop. They take our knight, but now there is d4 obviously, and even if they take back, there is c3 in order to gain more space, but this is not the important thing. Let's say remove the knight. We have h5 check, but also bishop takes is plus 10 because they're going to lose everything. You don't even need to bring the rook into the attack. It's such a good position. This is a really great position. For example, if they place to say the queen, we can give another check, and the best move is saying is queen on f7, which is pretty much the only move unless you play this. But now where b4 first, gaining more space is not necessary, by the way. And now we can play just rook on h1, waiting, because our opponent can't do anything. Let's say he plays a move like this, now we play f4 and we destroy him. He is frozen. The best move is knight on the 8, but after that is still f4 and good luck is plus 12. I think you're going to win. So in this position, instead of moving the king, you may take the knight. Queen takes g4, the knight is hanging, you have to move it. Now, be careful. If you move the knight on f6 is mating 1, so you can't. If you move the knight on f4, which is the best move, there is knight takes on h7. If the rooks move somewhere, you're fucked. This is 18-1. You could try to defend this pawn, but the rook is lost. But it's not only that, you can play d4 first. You play with the knight, for example. Bishop takes on f4. They take back. And now you can play c3. The knight has to move again. Yeah, they can play g5, but let's find the normal move. They go back. Oh, wait, it's still mate. So yeah, they can't. g5. cxd. They take back. And we win a piece, for example. But we could have won the rook before. That was completely lost. This is just the best move, but honestly, after that, you can just take the rook, and it's only plus 7, you know? I mean, it's completely winning, there is no problem there whatsoever. So that's why you can't play bishop on g4. So instead of playing bishop on g4, you still have to try to play h6 or queen on e8. The best move is knight on d4, but even that. But in this case, you can play before. If they take, there is knight check and pretty much the same stuff. So after before, they can go on b6 and after that a4. And they try to run somewhere a5. The bishop is gone. If you try to save it, there is knight on e2, for example. You take the knight, we take it back, and as you can see, there are all the threats in the world with d4, f4, and is +3, and we have a really good position. We still up a pawn, we have the couple of bishop, we have all the space in the world, and we are much better. Other than playing knight on d4, you can try h6, but now there is a really good move. Knight on h7. If you take this knight, GG, d5, king on e8, queen on h5 check, rook on f7, the only way to cover, and after that knight b6, we are threatening mate now. So knight on g5, defending the rook, bishop takes, knight take back, we take the rook, the knight is grabbed, and we take the pawn. And we can pretty much stop there. Our plan is to develop the bishop and destroy the position after this. So you move the rook on h1, f4, you take whatever you want. Is almost +3. You might see that we are down a minor piece, but we are up 2 exchanges and 2 pawns. 2 pawns and 2 exchanges. Whatever it is, we are up a lot of material. Is +3 is quite a lot. If you can activate your rook, it's game over, don't worry. This is the best move now. You can play c3 in the future to block all these important squares. Knight on h7 is quite a good move, and taking with the knight is the best, because let's say if you try to move the rook somewhere, let's say you move the rook on e8 because it looks logical, you take this pawn, this knight, sorry, you give a check, the king has to move somewhere, and you bring the rook in the party, and it's game over. It's really game over. That's it. You can try this, it's not even the best move, but it's game over. So h6 is a bad move. The only good move, or decent because it's +2. It's at 4, knight on d4, but we also saw that knight on d4 is not that great. It's playing with bishop on e8. Now we give a check, we queen on e8. When the queen is on e8, a lot of times, most of the times, the moment is on e8, you can give this check with the knight. And still the queen is on e8, this knight check is always a really good move. You give the check, if they take, is +4. Always remember that when they take this knight, you don't take with the bishop, you take back with the pawn because you gain an important time. Knight d8 is the best move because if you play something like that, there is c3 and say bye-bye to your knight. C takes, let's say queen takes, you win a piece. And if you try to save your knight, for example, that's not good at all. Now I'm opening everything, you can attack my knight, but whatever, even if you do that, is GG. So the best move is to go on d8, and after that there is still d4, I open up all the position and you are lost. If you take this pawn, there is knight takes on h7, and if you play something like that, there is bishop on d3, defending my knight, c6, trying to do something, but bishop on g5, and as you can see, this is kinda starting to go in pretty wrong. If you played bishop now, there is queen g4 and is completely lost. You are going to take everything, but I mean, it's the best move. So they take the bishop, you give the check, the king moves on e7, you give another check because the queen is attacked by the light square bishop, they play g5, and now queen on h6, and where is your king going? Where is your king going? This is the best move, take, take, and take. If you try to trade rooks, I'm going to show you, this time I'm going to show you pretty much all the line because it's complicated. to understand why are you much better. I play g6 and your opponent can't move. Yeah, I mean, he can move now. But I take another pawn and I'm up and just up a pawn now. But I have 2 pass pawn and that's why I'm much better. So taking with the knight is not good. Moving the king is not good. That means that this move is not good. For the simple reason, because d6 is a mistake. Now, what can they try is h6 or queen on e8. h6 is the best move. Let's look at queen on e8 first. They play queen on e8, short castle, and h6 now. If they play d6, remember there is the queen on e8. You still can do that. You shouldn't really take the knight for the same reason as before. If you take this, you see there is still knight on d8, d4, you open all the position and you win. So you have to move your king, and at this point you can just play c3 and be completely safe. They try to make you move your knight. If they play a move like this, it's d4 again, come on, you open all the position and you win. And let's say they try to pin your bishop, your knight, sorry. You just take this, rook take, and will come and collected bishop on e2, which is the point of bishop on c4. Bishop on e2, the position is rock solid. This knight is going anywhere. This knight is not going anywhere. You're going to play d3, develop your bishop, and your upper pawn. They have a queen in the center and is +2. As simple as that. d6 now is not a good move. h6 is the best move. You move the knight. And now they can try d6 or queen on g4, which is the point of having the queen on d8. And if he plays d6, in this position you can play knight d5, yeah. But in this case, despite the fact that it's completely playable, I will suggest you to play bishop on e2. And why? Why am I saying that? When there is not h6, knight d5 is really strong because there are other knights that. Because I have a knight there. But if there is h6, I don't have a knight there. I have a knight on f3, is not on g5. You shouldn't play knight d5 at this point. The best move and the most solid move at this point is playing bishop on e2. With bishop on e2, no one is going to hurt you. No one is going to hurt you. There is no way they can do anything in this position. They can't even take because I take with check. They can't do anything. Now you just give in check and win. For example, knight d5 is the best move now. And if they take back, there is knight on f5. They can't take because the queen is hanging. Rook take is the best move, but after that you can see that everything is falling off. So bishop on e2 is the best move in that case if they play h6. So remember that. If you have a knight on g5, knight on d5 is the best move. If they play h6, you have a knight on f3 and bishop on e2 is the best in this case. And if they play queen on g6 now, if you take with the knight, there is knight takes and it's completely lost, obviously. I have all the space in the world. And if they take with the bishop, which is the best move, I have knight check. Knight check on d5. They take my knight back and I take on d5. Now they play e4, attacking my knight. And at this point we can attack the queen. So gaining the time on the queen. Queen g5. And we play g3, defending our knight. This knight is still hanging, but they attack our knight. And we play d3. d3 because we are attacking the queen. The queen has to move on f6, targeting the rook, but we can take the pawn. Because if queen takes, we have this check and they have to lose the queen. So at this point, the best move is rook on b8, targeting the bishop. But now we can play a4, the bishop is defended and the knight has to move, but they don't want to move this knight apparently. So we can target the bishop now. A takes, D takes. So finally the bishop is falling off. They have to move the bishop somewhere else. and d takes c. And as you can see in this position, everything is going to open up and we are going to win. What if they take this pawn? You might wonder. Well, it's just king on h2. This is not even a threat, and this bishop is pinned now, so it's +6. So all of this to say that queen on g6 does not work, and does not work and never works when you play knight on c3. That's why you should play knight on c3 before the short castle. So queen g6 does not work. And what can we play now? The best move is h6. h6, knight back, obviously. So remember, in this case, it's always better to play bishop on e2 than this. Now, if they play queen on e8, again, computer is saying that knight on a4 is the best move, but also castle is really good. Yeah. Castle is really good, and if they play something like that, we transposed to the position I said earlier. You don't play knight d5 now, you play bishop on e2. And you are okay, there is no problem, is almost +2. And you are up a pawn rock solid. If they play something like this, you just take it, by the way, and you are completely safe. So if they try d6 in this position though, we castle, and with queen e8 is always the same stuff. So as you can see, that's pretty much it. If they try to play bishop on g4 in this position, it's always bishop on e2 that saves the day. They try queen on e8 to try everything, but now that we played bishop on e2, we can actually play the knight check. If they take our knight, which is the best move, we take back. And it's not knight on d4 because there is this static and we win a piece. They have to take our knight first. We take back and they attack our bishop. But bishop, oh sorry, it's not that. Is bishop on e4 the best move. Now we have a really good bishop. And if they try something like queen on a4, we have king on e1. We want to play f4 and win, but before that we could also play something like d3. Just be careful that you are not going to lose a piece. g5 for example, and now just f3. f3, everything is defended and we are going to win really fast. Queen e2 for example, and as you can see, you're still up a pawn, they have a king in the center, and we are going to break in the center. And we are going to smash the center with c3, d4. We saw all the lines of the rook f8 line, because after that we play knight on c3 and we saw what happens with h6, d7 and queen e8. So we saw every line after the rook f8 move. I showed you that in every line you are going to be much better and you are going to have at least one more pawn in every line. In the next video, which is the second part, I'm going to show you the queen e8 lines, and sometimes we are transposing to normal line, but if they play queen on e8 they don't have to play rook on f8, so the lines differ a bit, and there also is a really insane line with queen on e8 that I'm going to show you in the next video. I hope this opening guide was helpful and that you liked the video. See you tomorrow with the second part. Stay tuned, be safe, I don't know, study this, whatever it is, this insane piece of theory that I showed you, and see you soon.